Hello, my name is Jason Miller with AlexNow Solutions. I am a ServiceNow consultant. I've been working with the tool for about 4 years now. I've had several clients both in the federal sector and the commercial sector. Today what I'd like to do is talk about the retroactive pause in the SLA application. There have been a couple of posts which I've noticed on the community which ask how they work. Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow has been nice enough to give us some documentation here. There is also stuff in the ServiceNow document site that talk about how retroactive start and pause are used. And what I'd like to do today is show you how you can construct the definition and also a little bit on how to think about retroactive start and pause. I had already done a video in the past on how to use or construct a definition using retroactive start. So this will be a little bit of a refresher of that, but also more importantly, how to implement the pause retroactively. So I've created 4 SLA definitions here. We have the database team, priority 5 cab, priority 5 hardware group, and then priority 5 LDAP. These first two, they run on a schedule of 8x5, and then these last two run on a 24x7. And I'll take you through the definitions. They're all pretty much the same with the exception of the assignment group. And the way I set it up was basically off the incident table, a duration of 4 minutes. And the reason why I used 4 minutes here was because I want to be able to visually see that the retroactive pause is working. And I set these up in pairs in terms of the actual schedule. So I'm not using a schedule, which means it's just going to run on a 24x7 clock. And I'm using the Eastern time zone to go ahead and calculate these things. So if we take a look at our start condition here, we have active equals true. Priority is planning, or number 5. And our assignment group is database. Now here's where our retroactive start comes into play. And basically what it's saying is when it starts, it's going to use this created date as our timestamp. And then retroactive pause will also be factored in. And the reason why this is important is that when you have that relationship with your customer might say, well, we want to track the incident from end to end. However, the supplier might say, well, we'd like to make sure that any time spent assigned to another team is not factored into the calculation because it shouldn't count against our company or our team, etc. So the conditions that I put in for pause I'll get to in just a second. And I've manually set up the cancel condition. A lot of people just stick with this start conditions are not met. However, one thing I want this SLA definition to do is to pause if it gets assigned to another group, and then if it comes back, I want it to start the clock again. And also it should push the breach date back. That's the intention of this SLA here. And the reason that's important is because if you set this to start conditions are not met, because of the unpredictable nature of the incident table or the just the concept of incident management is that when a caller calls up the service desk, they may say something to the effect of my laptop isn't working. Well, that's fine. But really the root cause of it is the server went down. So at first I might go to a desktop support technician, but later on the ticket will get rerouted to a different group. So for my cancel conditions, I just set up basically you should cancel if priority is not 5, and then if it gets to the very end and the assignment group isn't database and it's resolved, then go ahead and cancel. So I'm telling it basically, hey, just wait and pause state until the end and let's see who cancels it. And if it's not this group, then it won't count against them. So for our pause condition here, really simple. Assignment group is not database. And our stop condition is incident state is resolved and the assignment group is database. So it says here if it gets to the end, then I want it to be marked as complete, basically. So let's go ahead and if we look at the cab definition, basically the same thing, except the cab approval group is in the assignment group. slot. Same duration, same schedule. So what we can do now is create an incident and assign it to database. Click save. We'll notice our created date is right here. Generally, this probably wouldn't be on your incident form, but I wanted to illustrate that this time right here will be the same as the start date down here. So if we look at our start time, it's exactly the same. 13:34:44, 13:34:44 on the 14th of November 2017. So we have exactly the same. So right now this Priority 5 database is running. And then if we look at our breach time, it should be exactly 4 minutes, which it is 4 minutes. Well, now it's 3 minutes. 4 minutes from the start time. So it tells us our business elapsed time. And then let's see, I put in some other fields here. So this is when it was created, the actual SLA itself. So make sure that when you're creating your definition, you don't get the created date of the table which you're referring to, meaning the incident, confused with this actual created field right here, because this is saying this actual SLA was created. So this task was created, or this line item was created on this date, which is the same as in this scenario, the other one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it to the CAB team. CAB approval is the name of it. And now we'll click save. Now, since the definition was the same, the created date should be exactly the same, but the breach time should be pushed back a little bit. So here's our new definition that came in, and then the first one did what it was supposed to do. It paused. So we'll see here, start time exactly the same. These match. Now if we look at this one, we'll see here our breach time looks like probably about almost 2 minutes. It pushes it back is what's happening here. So it's 2 minutes further back in time. And the reason why is that retroactive pause condition pushed out the breach time. However, here's the trick to it. When you think of SLAs in general, think of duration. A lot of people try to dig into the weeds and say, okay, what date did this happen? And they look at these timestamps and they fixate on them. But really what we're looking at is the pause duration, or more important is going to be your business pause duration. And the difference between these two is that your pause duration is going to be, if it goes after hours, so let's say we're running on an 8 to 5 schedule, this pause duration would take that into account. However, your business pause duration, if it was running on a 8 to 5 schedule, it would factor that out. So a lot of people get fixated on time and averages and how long does it take on average to do incidents, for example. So that would be kind of the difference that you need to understand when you're trying to get those handle on those averages. So, but this SLA, or this pair of SLA definitions, both have a 24/7 schedule. So these two will be the same in this case. So right now what I'll do is, and here's another thing to look out for too, is that we'll notice here that this hasn't changed. The breach time has not been pushed back. And this is pretty typical because we haven't taken it out of pause status. So sometimes I'll see it on the community where people are saying, oh, the pause isn't working. That's not really the case. Really what the issue is that we haven't taken it out of pause status yet, so we can't add on the breach time just yet. So we'll do that right now. We'll switch it back to database group. Click save. And we'll see here in the activity log the dates. So if you wanted to take a look at the dates and just make sure everything's firing okay, you would just match these up with the actions that are going on in the log. So right here now we'll see this one's back in progress, and now this one's in a pause state. So, and now this one has been pushed back, I don't know, 2-3 minutes or so. Let's see what the pause time says over here. Pause duration, it's about 2 minutes. So it pushes it back by that factor. So this could happen until finally someone resolves it. So I'll go ahead and resolve it as this database team, and we'll see what happens as the final results. I'm going to change this to resolved. Click Save. And now one should be canceled, and the other one's completed. So we'll see here that the database team completed it within that breach time, and then this one was canceled right here. And then we'll notice that neither of them breached. And this is also a good talking point here, is that when you're looking at the stages here in the legacy application, or excuse me, the legacy SLA engine, it used to use terms like achieved or breached. But really what you should be using if you're using a 2011 SLA engine is this has breached fields. And I guess the reason for that is because if you hit that canceled state, then really there's no way to tell if you're using the achieved or breached if it got canceled. So there's no way, I guess, to factor those out. So that pretty much concludes our session. I'm going to go ahead and upload it to the AlexNow Solutions YouTube channel, and then I will also send out a snippet on the community site. Thank you and have a great day.